Okay, let's get started with today's training, the 6-second capability statement, so that we can get meetings in the federal market. Since 2018, I talked to hundreds of federal buyer representatives all across the country in defense, civilian side. I've talked to small business professionals. I've talked to contracting offices. I've talked to people in the program office. And the first thing I've learned as I talk to them about especially capability statements and refining this is that they all share a lot of different advice. But they all have some common recommendations, and that's the part I latch onto. And so together, with their advice and my own, I begin to shape what I recommend that businesses like yours do if you want to get more meetings, what you do to your capability statement. An example of a piece of advice that I heard somebody say, this was back in 2018, so it was a while ago, but it was one of my favorite ones because it just stuck, was stop using pink to show that you're a woman-owned small business. I don't need your capability statement to have pink all over it to show that you're a woman-owned small business. Stop putting the American flag on there to show me that your company is a patriotic company. I got it. What do you sell is what I want to know. That's what the government was saying to me, right? I want small businesses to come in, not even small businesses. I want businesses to come in and tell us what you sell and how that can help us with our mission. We do not buy from veteran-owned businesses. We do not buy from women-owned businesses. We do not buy from small businesses. We buy from those who can help us with our mission. And that's why the advice I give around the capability statement and other things I teach are around this mission. I'm not here to make you a success as a small business. I'm here to help you get in the door and start selling to the federal government so that you can solve their problem. You can help them reach their goals, right? You've got that covered down. I want to help you get in the door. And so I took the advice I heard from small business or from the government side of the house together with my 20 plus years of experience. And I developed the guidance that I'm sharing with you today. And I've shared multiple times. This works over and over with my customers. I get them in the door using this capability statement framework that I'm going to give you. And it works over and over with all the people who come to take my training like you are, where they just simplify the capability statement to do its job. And I will talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling on capability statements that should land you meetings, right? The idea of what I want to share today is centralized around what I call the 6-second capability statement. In 6 seconds, you should be able to communicate what your company sells. It should be less now. If you really think about the phone and how you scroll through LinkedIn, how you scroll through Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or whatever you use, you don't have patience in there. And buyers are just, people. Dave Waltz is in the chat. He can tell you buyers are just people. And so if they're people like you and me, funny as that is, then they're going to have the same pattern use. They're not going to have a lot of patience. Things have to catch their eye. And so I want to talk to you today about the purpose of the 6-second capability statement. Then I'm going to break down the parts of the 6-second capability statement. I actually have a kind of a bonus offer. It's just additional material that I couldn't put into the 30 minutes today, but I'm going to give you that. But really, it breaks down the parts of the capability statement so you understand it. I want to really dive into, as much as I can, these last 2 bullets, the biggest mistakes I see that happen with capability statements, and then how do you use your capability statement? So you got it, it's done. What do I do next? I want to give you a couple of tips on how you can maximize the value of your capability statement. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you. That's what I want from your capability statement. Repeatable, predictable results of getting meetings, right? And so we're going to dive into that today. If you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, please do. Government Contracting Success. I put a ton of value in there. I share a lot of value on different platforms, et cetera. And in the newsletter, we centralize that. So make sure you subscribe to that. That way LinkedIn can let you know when we've got good stuff going on. I want to thank you for registering. I think we got almost 150 people registered for today's training. I really appreciate that. First off, it's a very easy way for you to thank us by letting us know you're coming. The second thing is it lets LinkedIn push this out to other people saying, hey, you might be interested. These 100 plus people are interested. You're in the same industry you might be interested in. So please consider to keep registering for the events. I've got one more tomorrow. If today is Thursday, yes. One more tomorrow, and I've got like the next 20 different weekdays lined up. So we're good to go. Just keep tracking in the newsletter and you'll be able to register. And then last thing is never come without inviting a friend. If you've been here 2 or 3 times, then you know you like the training, you like the community. So build the community by inviting others. Drag them along if you have to. If they're in your office, otherwise shoot them an invite and let them know. Okay, let's dive into the purpose of the 6-second capability statement. And as a reminder, a 6-second capability statement gets across what do you do in 6 seconds or less. So the other person has the ability to say, yes, I want to have a meeting with you. No, I don't want to have a meeting with you. You know what? It's not me, but John there. That's the one you should be talking to. So yes, no, or that person. That's what I want in 6 seconds or less. And so the only purpose of a capability statement is to get that meeting. Not getting the meeting is also kind of like getting a meeting. In sales, no's and yeses are equally important. They're not equally appreciated, right? We appreciate the yeses way more, but they're equally important. You have to get dirt in order to get gold. Dirt and gold go together to make a gold mine. Same thing in sales, right? So sometimes you get the meeting, sometimes you don't. No big deal. But the capability statement needs to help that decision happen in 6 seconds. And so that's the purpose of that. It's not to inform. You're not there to teach them on paper. It's not to be this mini white paper. Let me tell you everything about my company. It's not to tell everything about your company. It's to get a meeting. I'm just trying to give you enough to give me a first date, right? That literally is what it is. And it's not to win artistic designs, right? That's something else I was talking about. You're not trying to win an award for the best looking capability statement. You're trying to get a meeting. Who cares what it looks like if it's getting you meetings over and over again? And that's a really important thing to remember, because sometimes we put really fancy pictures in and we spend a lot of time thinking about how to make it look branding perfect. It's like, forget about that. Put it together, hand it to 10 people and see how many meetings you get, right? If it gets you the meeting or gets you a refused meeting or gets you a referral, those 3 are the outcome of the capability statement. So you really want to drive forward on that. Before I move on, I do want to mention that capability statements are one of 6 marketing assets that I teach. Each marketing asset has a purpose. An example is the purpose of a capability briefing deck, a bunch of slides, is not to spend an hour informing or teaching about your company. It's 5 minutes to drive the meeting. The whole purpose of a sales meeting is a discussion, and the slide deck kind of goes that path. So every asset you have, make sure you understand its purpose. The capability statement's purpose, again, is to get a meeting. Put that into the chat, by the way. Get a meeting. If you really understand what I'm saying, that a capability statement has a purpose and its only purpose is to get a meeting. Put that in the chat. Okay, let's talk about the parts of this 6-second capability statement. I'm going to talk about it here. Then I'm going to show you a little bit. And then at the end of the training, I'll give you a link to a lot more depth of going into the framework and how do you build your capability statement. I couldn't put it all into 30 minutes. So there's 3 main sections to a 6-second capability statement, or really any capability statement. It has the header, and then the body, and then the footer. I'm going to just talk about them really quick. The header needs to have the words capability statement. Some people say use it. Some people say don't. I say use it, because the majority of the government people say they want to see capability statement. Who cares? Just put it there. Right below it should be your cage code and your UEI. Very easy, top dead center. It should be people should be able to find your cage code and UEI, which allows them to go search you on other tools. The way I tell you to do the design is on your left-hand side, put your company logo of the header, and on the right-hand side, put your company tags and your top vehicle logo. So if you got GSA, you might throw it over there. When I say your tags, what I mean here is your 8A logo or your hub zone, etc. We teach, don't lead with your tags, but what I teach is make sure your capability statement is leading with the tags. As long as you don't say, hey, I'm an 8A, give me business, you're fine. But if your paperwork says it, that's a really important part about your business. It is a distinguisher no matter what anybody says, right? So don't bury the lead all the way at the bottom, put that at the top, right there in the top right-hand side so people can see, oh, I see you're an SDVO. If you say you're an SDVO, they're gonna go, it doesn't matter, we're looking for capability, right? But if you put it on your capability statement in the top right-hand side, they're going to see your company logo. They're going to see your capability statement and see the cage code, which tells them you're in SAM. And then they're going to come over and see that you're an SDVO and circle it. Oh, you're an SDVO. That's nice. It's all right, cool. So put that at the top. That's the header. And then as you're coming down, I'm going to show you this in a minute, but the 4 main components of the body of your capability statement are your core competencies. So as you come down, you're going to talk about your core competency. what we sell. The next thing you're going to talk about is your past performance. And then as they come across, they're going to see your differentiator. If you're brand new, you might not have a lot of differentiator. Don't overly complicate this. If you can put some things in, great. And then you're going to have a little about section, this teeny paragraph. Some people put a lot of paragraph in there. It just needs to be like 150 characters. That just is almost like an elevator pitch. There's a hook that you say, we do data analytics. That's a hook. There's a hook that gets you on an elevator. Then you are riding up the elevator, so you need that elevator pitch. This about paragraph in the body needs to be something like that, right? It's that pitch you say on the way up. And then the footer is the stuff that is not important. And I know I say that kind of brutally, but no one cares who you are, your phone number, any of that stuff until they decide they like what you sell and they like where you have sold it before. Then they go, I wonder if I can contact this company. And at the bottom, voila, there's your contact information. When they finally are interested in calling you, they will see it, right? And the NAICS code is the same thing. Personally, I don't believe a NAICS code belongs on a capability statement. I hate it. The only reason I leave it on there is because too many people want to do it this old way, but nobody looks at a capability statement and sees a NAICS code and go, oh my God, you're 541511. Let's meet. They don't look at 541511 and really say, let's not meet unless it's construction, right? But theoretically, you've done your research on that already. But because people have it, I put it on the capability statement. But because I'm telling you it's not that important, I put it at the very bottom. So quick tips over here. I already said don't bury the lead. So an example is your top contract vehicles. If you're trying to sell to the Navy, put your Seaport Next Gen logo or whatever up on top right. If you've got other contract vehicles, you can put them lower down. You don't want to crowd the whole header, but certainly Seaport Next Gen, if you're selling into the Navy, that's a good thing to put in, right? And then some tips. I'm going to show you this in a minute, but I learned this from the Department of Energy. Lonnie McRae, she said it and it instantly clicked for me, is that we read left to right, right? If you look at don't bury the lead, you start at D and you end with D. Don't bury the lead. You're reading left to right. We all read left to right. And so the idea is make your capability statement that same Z format. I read don't bury the lead. Then I come down to some tips. I don't come down to don't bury the lead, tips, some, right? And so I read in that Z format where I go back to the beginning. Your capability statement is just this big Z, which I'll show you in a second. When you have it that way, it's easy to see. Use 14-point font, make it really big. Anything smaller than that, you're trying to tell a story instead of getting a meeting. 14-point font just makes it easy for people who look at hundreds of capability statements to go, oh, I like this. I see it. No, or I see it. Yes. Or I see it, Jane. Right. And then, okay, so let me switch over to showing you a couple examples really quick. Okay, the first thing is I'm going to give you this link in a little bit, but so in here, we have a whole blog and my sister Cecilia built this thing for us out of our trainings. And so it's awesome. So the first thing I just wanted to show you though, is what I meant when I said a Z format. It really is this, right? You got your company logo, people read across. So they come across, they see, this is an older one, we still got duns on it, but then there's tags. But here's the part I wanted you to see. Coming down, I see the core competency. And then coming farther down, I see the past performance. Here is what we sell, who has paid us for it. That's the kicker, right? That's the big thing. And so you can shrink this Z a little bit and come over to differentiators. Or if they just continue down, they go, this is what you sell. This is who you sold it to. This is how you can contact us if you want. So that's what we mean by a Z format. And the intro paragraph, that short intro paragraph goes up in this spot that is really the last spot anybody will ever look at. We follow naturally a Z format. Okay, so let me zoom this out. I want to show you one other thing. And there's a ton in here, by the way, where I break it down, a whole nother video where I go deep into just the capability statement. And so we'll talk to you about that. But here's a friend of ours, Parker Herman. And I just went out on LinkedIn because he has this capability statement that follows our format. But he put it out on LinkedIn like we talk about. And so here, if I click on it, here's an example of a capability statement in that format I was saying. By the way, these guys do, IT Infra does zero trust architecture and cybersecurity. So if you're looking to team up with them. But anyways, you can see it coming across. You see the information. You can see they're an 8A and they're in stars. That header instantly communicates to the federal buyer, this small business is bigger than the normal small business that might come in. They're more mature. Somehow they had to prove their worth, their past performance in one way or another to get a GSA schedule, SARS 3 schedule, or 8A certification. All of that in less than a second tells that person, oh, this company is at this level of maturity, compared to if it was blank, you would think, maybe they haven't even got a first contract or anything. And then not spending a lot of time, but you can see he does zero trust, and he broke it up into these three key words, right? IT infrastructure, cybersecurity, and data. And they've got some subordinate bullets. The idea of these is that you're trying to get somebody with a pen who's just circling things. Oh, tell me more about that identity access management thing you do, right? And then coming over to the left-hand side, the way that they're organizing it, and I like teaching people this, is at the top we say, this is the customers we've worked for, so that instantly we're getting kind of borrowed credibility from, wow, they're DOD and DHS. And then here are the projects we've worked on, some ATO stuff, some COOP stuff, whatever. If you're in the cyber business, this makes sense. If you're in construction, you're going to go, yeah, that's not me. I don't even know who to refer you to. Sorry, Parker. But if you're in the IT business at all, you'll know what this is. And then at the bottom, and I know it bounces around, but you can't, there you go, you can see it. You see his NAICS codes are at the bottom, no words or any of that stuff, but his point of contact information is right there. So by the way, if you have it, maybe somebody can throw Parker's LinkedIn profile in there for you to go connect with Parker and say, thanks for letting us look at your profile there, or your capability statement. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is the biggest mistakes with capability statements. And I know I'm moving really fast. Don't worry, the replays are available immediately. Plus, you'll have a couple of different things that if you're going to build your capability statement, you'll have it available. But here are the biggest mistakes that people make with their capability statements. The first thing is they don't hyperlink everywhere on their on the PDF of their capability statement when they put it together. So if we just use IT Infra, Parker and Jay's company, Jay owns the company, their company logo, that needs to be hyperlinked back to your website. You're trying to get your capability statement to send people down a rabbit hole to continue learning more about you. You don't want just one document and that's it. I can't learn anything else. So the logo for the company goes back, you hyperlink it back to your company. And then as you come across, you've got your cage code and your UEI. Those two, you want to hyperlink, in my opinion, right back to DSBS. So send those back. So people are going back, especially federal buyers, and they can dig even more into your company. And then as you come across, also you have the 8A certification. That one now I would send back to DSBS because that's where it's listed. Contract vehicles. Parker had GSA and STARS 3, GSA Mass. Both of those, like actually, I think both of those, they can go to individual pages. So you literally are sending them back to the contract vehicles. Make it easy. We talk about removing the friction from a federal buyer doing their job. They're doing market research. They're trying to validate that IT Infra is a squared away zero trust company that it's worth them bringing in to talk to, right? And so the more they can do research and go, oh, they're squared away here, squared away here, squared away here, then the more they want to bring them in to talk to them. So that's the first mistake, is not using links on your capability statement. The second mistake that I find people use is at the very bottom, we put things like sales@ourcompany.com or info. Don't do that. People want to talk to people. You know this as well as I do, right? When you have to deal with a vendor that, say you bought a computer and you're trying to get it fixed because it's not working, or a video game like I did over Christmas and it doesn't work, and you're trying to reach out to somebody, you want to know you're talking to somebody. And if for the government buyer or your teammates, you want them to know, hey, call Parker Herman. Here's my phone number and here's my email address. Make it easy for your customers to reach you. A lot of us sometimes feel like, well, maybe a spammer or somebody's going to get my contact information. First off, they're going to get it. I'm a veteran and I had a top secret clearance outside of the Army, and I have had my data fully taken from the VA and from OPM or wherever it was. Fully. I get these notices. Hey, sorry, Neil, all your data has been taken. That's going to happen sometimes. But why would you put the block from your buyers getting to you? You can do what I do, which is not answer the phone and check the voicemail kind of thing. But make sure you're using a person. Make it easy for your buyers to begin to build that connection to you. The third mistake here is not using metadata. And I'm not going to go over and show you because it's in that blog video that I did. But basically, when you go into any file in Microsoft Word or Adobe Acrobat for PDFs, when you go into those tools, go up to the File menu. And in the File menu is something called Properties or Info. And that's the metadata. The very first piece of metadata is the file name, right? And in the file name, you want to have a good file name. Actually, Eileen Kent gave a great tip I really liked the other day is when you have a file name and you're naming it basically with your core competency and first, and then like capability statement or your company name, et cetera. But this idea that if they're searching through maybe a folder of capability statements, you can see that. But everybody gets the file name correct. What we miss is all this other field. You have these fields where you can put in a lot of keywords. And this is important because imagine they have thousands of small businesses capability statements in a hard drive somewhere. And a federal buyer is trying to look, hey, I wonder if there's any companies out there that do zero trust. If there's a lot of zero trust companies, the companies who use the metadata, your results will come up higher. I get paid millions of dollars to do exactly this in the government, is to rank the results so we can push the results coming up. This is not playing with an algorithm. This is a flat out rule. And so this idea that if I find cybersecurity, zero trust in the metadata, I'm going to rise those results up. And then the next thing is if I see zero trust within the actual PDF file, right, then I'll have those results. So all the results will come back. You just want to be at the top. So make sure you're using DSBS. And what I put here is using metadata. Go to DSBS, grab that data, and bring it back. You don't have to think again. You've already completed a really good profile on the dynamic small business search. You might as well reuse that data. The next mistake that I have is gating it. I've seen people do this, and I really wish I could find them all and tell them to encourage them to stop. Gating means requiring somebody to put an email in to get your capability statement. You should require them to never put in their email unless they want to talk to you, in my opinion, right? You should be giving away information, but your capability statement, that should be somebody lands and they can get a PDF. Inside of DSBS, I don't know if I'm going to say this, I might have missed this. No, I'll say it on the next slide, but I'll say it now. Inside of the dynamic small business search, they now have a link. And a lot of people are just doing what the SBA says, which is uploading a capability statement into the SBA tool. Don't do that. Instead, put a link in that field that they have for your capability statement, a link that sends them back to your website. When you do that, make sure that they can get access to it without putting their name and email in. So don't gate it, because when you gate things, half your audience walks away. They're like, I'm not doing that. And the other half, half of those put in phony emails anyway. So like, why bother? Unless you really need the information, don't ever gate anything, but never gate your capability statement. And the last thing is spam. People turn it into spam, and it just is amazing to me. Hey, Neil, I watched your capability statement training. It was awesome. I created it. Then I downloaded your 1,000 plus small business directory that Dave Waltz, who's here today, is in, right? David Waltz. And I emailed it out to David and all 100 or all 1,000 other people. That is the very definition of spam. Don't do that. Look at David's profile. Look right now in chat, and David's saying, we buy this. If that's you, I'd love to meet with you, right? Then reach out to him. But don't spam. If you spam, not that saying people are going to block you, but they'll sure as hell look at it and go, it's out of here. Or more importantly, worse, the tools will do it. And so the individual will never even get mad at you, because the tool will go, oh, this looks like spam. The Navy just got 500 emails. All the same thing from John Smith. I'm going to block it. It's spam. Okay. Last tip I have here, and I'm going to go pretty fast, is you saw what Parker did on his. Put it on LinkedIn. Put your capability statement in LinkedIn on your company page. Give it to every single person in your company and say, hey, can you go put it in your featured section? Can you go put it in your experience section? If they put it in there, Google index, and they can find it. If somebody happens to come along, they're going to go, oh, what's that? And they start learning. Don't let your capability statement be a marketing asset that is hidden in a drawer until I go to one particular meeting. Get that out there. Make sure everybody can see it. I already told you number 2, put it in LinkedIn. And number 3 is reach out to your contacts, both government and industry, these people you have relationships with over the last year or two, and say, hey, we've updated our capability statement or our capabilities for 2024. Do you mind if I get 10, 15 minutes to talk to you about it and show you, or just tell you what we're up to? Don't tell them about the capability statement yet. And then in the call, then you can share that capability statement. But if you're going to refresh for 2024, reach out to people and say, hey, we just refreshed our core competencies, really narrowing down and focusing. Can I talk to you about it? Last tip I had here is don't take it to conferences. This is I mean, at the moment, I feel like I'm the only one talking about this, but I say don't take a capability statement to the conference. First off, it's just too many to put in your pocket and all that, right? Instead, take one really nice laminated one, even if you do matchmaking. You don't want your capability statement in a stack of 100 that they just got from the conference. Instead, just sit down. You will be different right away when you go, hey, I just used this laminated one. And if it makes sense, then I'd love to follow back up with you with a capability statement more specific to your office, right? This is sales, controlling kind of the direction of it. When you don't have one to hand them, then you're able to follow up and make sure that yours now is at the top of their mind. Everybody else put it in the pile and walked away. But you'll be able to follow up several times with a capability statement after the fact. Here's my recommendations for what you could do after today's training. First thing is make sure you just update your capability statement for 2024 based on the tips I'm giving you today, plus this blog link. Actually, Cecilia or Gus, if you guys can put that link into the chat. In the chat, make sure you guys check the chat. The link to the blog that I said, that's a more in-depth summary of what I just talked about. It has all the tips I shared, plus more on how to actually write your capability statement. So check that out for number one. Number two, then take your capability statement, and here's a tip for you. I said put it in the future and experience, but what I recommend you do is when you have a capability statement you feel pretty good about, post it on LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, into the post, add a document, right? Make it a PDF, and then tag me in it, saying, hey, just, write whatever you want, right? Here's our 2024 capability statement. I'm excited about it. Looking forward to supporting the government, blah. But at the bottom, say, just tag me and say, Neil McDonnell, can you check it out, please? If you put that in, especially tagging me and then a please at the end, I'll go in and look at it and give you a quick review of it and give you some feedback. The idea is I want to be able to make sure that you have a capability statement that is more visible so that more people can find you, and it begins to drive to the whole purpose of a capability statement, which is to get a meeting, right? Hey, if you're interested in working with us to grow farther in the federal market, we tend to work with companies $1 million plus, and we'd love to talk with you as we move forward. Just check it out on govconchamber.com/workshop if that interests you. For all of us, just remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.